When you think of the book of Proverbs, what comes to mind? Probably something like an ancient self-help book, right? A collection of wise quotes for pretty much every occasion. But what if that's not the whole picture? What if hidden inside its pages, there's a single powerful story about the journey of life itself?
Now, it's easy to see why we think of it as just a list. I mean, you open it up, and the chapters seem to jump all over the place. Money, friendship, family, work, with no obvious connection. It can feel like a real jumble of disconnected advice.
But if you look closer at its literary structure, something absolutely incredible is revealed. You see, Proverbs isn't a random list at all. It's a carefully crafted narrative that follows a single main character. He's called the son, on a journey from his youth all the way to old age. It's basically a map for navigating the stages of a wise life.
So where does the story begin? Well, it kicks off in chapters 1 through 9. This first section is like the foundational education for our protagonist. This is the school of wisdom, where the son learns the core principles that are going to guide the rest of his life.
The structure of these early chapters is what scholars call pedagogical. It's just a fancy word for a really clear instructional format. Imagine a father speaking directly to his son, laying out the basics of a good life in a way that's simple and easy to grasp. He's building that foundation, brick by brick.
And at the very heart of this education is a huge choice personified by two women. On one path, you have Lady Wisdom, calling out in the streets, offering life and understanding. But on the other path is Lady Folly, the seductive voice promising easy pleasure that, well, it leads to ruin. Our guy, the son, is standing at a crossroads and he has to choose which voice he's going to follow.
And this shows us the clear learning pattern that's happening here. It's a simple, repeating cycle. The father gives an instruction, the son faces a choice between wisdom and folly, and then the text spells out the consequences, loud and clear. Think of it like a training ground for the soul.
Okay, so once the son's education is complete, the entire structure of the book changes, and it changes dramatically. Starting in chapter 10, those neat, orderly lessons, they just disappear, and we enter the chaotic, messy second stage of his journey, adulthood. Remember this from the early chapters? The father's voice is so direct and guiding. My son, listen to me. Incline your ear. It's clear, personal, one-on-one instruction. But then you get to the next section, and the Proverbs become way more complex, more nuanced. They present these situations where good and bad are all mixed up. A dry morsel with quiet. That's got some negative and some positive in it. A house full of feasting with strife. Same thing, positive and negative. All of a sudden, the simple black and white answers are gone. This shift is totally intentional. It's a deliberate literary device. The book's structure gets messy because life gets messy. The son is no longer in the classroom. He's out in the real world, trying to apply those foundational lessons to the chaotic, unpredictable situations of being a grown-up.
And all those seemingly random proverbs in this middle section, they actually address the key arenas of the son's new life. They cover his responsibilities at work, how to manage money, deal with coworkers. They get into his reputation and public life, his words at the city gate, and they tackle the challenges of managing his own home and family. He's trying to balance all these areas, just like any of us have to.
Now, as we move toward the end of the book, the narrative voice shifts one more time. The son, who was once the student, has now gotten older. He's lived a long life of wisdom, and we've reached the final stage of his incredible journey.
At this point, the story gets bigger. It's no longer just about the son's personal journey. He's become a sage, a wise elder in his own right, and the focus turns to how his hard-won wisdom gets passed on as a legacy for the next generation.
In chapter 30, we hear from a man named Agur, a non-Israelite sage, and his words, they aren't the words of a young man trying to find success. They're from an old man who has seen it all. His prayer for moderation, to have neither poverty nor riches, that reflects a lifetime of mature, humble wisdom. Then in chapter 31, we meet King Lemuel. But get this, he's not sharing his own wisdom, he's passing on the wisdom his mother taught him. This just perfectly captures that idea of the generational transfer of knowledge. Wisdom isn't just for you, it's a treasure to be passed down. So when we put all these pieces together, what do we actually see? We see a single character on a complete life journey, from a student to an adult out in the world to a respected elder. We've literally watched the structure of the book itself change to mirror the stages of his life.
This timeline really shows the whole journey. It starts with that youthful education in chapters 1 through 9. Then it moves into adult application and growing influence in that big middle section. And finally, it all culminates in an enduring legacy in the last couple of chapters. It's the entire arc of a wise life.
So, in the end, when you see Proverbs not as a random collection of quotes, but as one single cohesive story, its meaning is completely transformed. It becomes what it was always meant to be, a timeless map for the quest we are all on, the search for a wise, a righteous, and a truly meaningful life.
So if Proverbs really is a map that outlines the journey of a wise life, from education to application all the way to legacy, it leaves us with one simple question. Where are you?